We just had what was likely one of the best SmackDown episodes, so we gotta talk about it, and of course a lot of wrestling news, rumors and reports from this past week. Make sure to hit those notifications, be subscribed to the channel, and let's get into it. Coming out of SmackDown this week, one of the biggest reports is in regards to some matches and segment getting cut from the show. One of those cuts was for Kevin Owens, who has been a hot topic of discussion over the last week, as his contract is set to be ending in a couple of months, and he even ended up teasing that he might be going over there where the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, his prior stable teammates, are at, that being AEW. So Kevin has been receiving a lot of attention because of that. And this week on SmackDown, we're set to have a segment during WWE's return to Madison Square Garden, and that angle was cut from the show. WWE also cut a women's tag team match, and this one seems to have been a very late change because early on in the day, Zelina Vega and Liv Morgan both teased the fact that they cannot wait to compete at the MSG Arena. Come SmackDown, none of that ended up happening. Now, there's no specifics and reason up to why these cuts ended up happening. For Kevin Owens, it could be that his contract is indeed expiring and they were not happy of him kind of teasing that, or it could just be the simple reason that WWE simply needed to cut time. SmackDown is 2 hours. We did have Edge versus Seth Rollins for 35 minutes of the show, which by the way was an amazing matchup. Ringside News did went on to specify that they were told that the reason given backstage was that they indeed needed to cut those segments due to timing reasons. One thing that we know for sure is that a lot of the talents were not happy about it. Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, and Carmella all went on Twitter basically letting us know that they were sad they were not able to compete. Fans weren't too happy either because hashtag Give SmackDown Women's a Chance was actually trending. I would say that this is the only negative for this week's SmackDown because besides that, it was an awesome show. Honestly, the best we have seen for quite a while for WWE. And we will talk all about it, but first let's talk some quick news because it was an eventful week. First off, in regards to the draft, Matt Men's Andrew Sarian ended up reporting that the WWE draft would take place in October 1st episode of SmackDown and the October 4th episode of Monday Night Raw. They also added that the Queen of the Ring and the King of the Ring tournament would then start off on the October 8th episode of SmackDown, which will be the quote-unquote season premiere of the show, and with the finals taking place on October 21st in Saudi Arabia. I'm actually surprised WWE is going to be running both tournaments at the same time, and because they are doing it at the same time, I'm actually upset that at least one of these tournaments is not going to be happening throughout one single night. They could have gone classic of it. They don't have to make it their own pay-per-view. They could have given us a full SmackDown or a full Monday Night Raw episode just for it, and would have made that Monday Night Raw show watchable. Onto some other news, Mick Foley was very vocal about WWE this past week, especially after AEW All Out, as he simply told WWE that they got a problem. They gotta consider AEW as a competition because of how great and how much momentum they have right now. Well, according to new reports, and this is not really a surprise, but WWE in the backstage are said to be very unhappy with Mick Foley after his recent criticism of the promotion. There is a quote-unquote unwritten rule that WWE legends shouldn't disparage the company, which means we might not be seeing Mick Foley making a special appearance on WWE anytime soon. Interesting reports in regards to Braun Strowman, as it looks like he is in talk with Impact Wrestling. This has been a back and forth within the last couple of weeks, with Braun Strowman sharing an interesting message on Twitter indicating that he is set to quote-unquote make an impact, referencing Impact Wrestling. And then Impact Wrestling executive Scott D'Amore previously stated in a Twitch clip that Impact is currently on the road to Braun for Glory. That is of course Impact's biggest pay-per-view, set to take place next next month, and now Braun seems to be one of the big surprises for it. But there might be even more major surprises for it, as that could be Bray Wyatt. Impact Wrestling is said to be extremely interested in signing the former WWE champion, and Dave Meltzer ended up indicating that if Bray Wyatt signs with Impact, then he will likely make his promotional debut also at pay-per-view. But there's a big but, and that is that he is also likely to go to AEW, and his AEW debut might be coming sooner than Bound for Glory. If he signs with All Elite Wrestling, then his debut could take place on the September 29 episode of AEW Dynamite, as there has been talk of that. This episode of AEW's flagship show is being held in Rochester, New York, which is Brody Lee's home city, which in turn there is no better time to debut Bray Wyatt on AEW than at that time. For all we know, Bray Wyatt could be showing up on both of the promotions since both companies are working together. As for what went down on this SmackDown September 10, 2021 episode from The Garden, we had the show starting off with Roman Reigns, which of course led to Brock Lesnar coming out. So Brock Lesnar returned to SmackDown and created some chaos. He got on the microphone, asked Paul Heyman why he didn't tell Roman Reigns that he was gonna be at SummerSlam. So Brock Lesnar was actually steering the pot here. Roman Reigns was pissed off, so he left, but then he came for the sneak attack and made the save for Paul Heyman. Brock wasn't having it, took out the Usos. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman got to run away. By the way, throughout this segment, Fox ended up censoring the crowd noises. We basically got over 30 seconds of muted audio because while we had Paul Heyman in the ring with Brock Lesnar, the crowd was chanting "You effed up." This was of course WWE's best crowd since coming out of the Thunderdome. It is New York City after all, WWE's quote-unquote home, hardcore wrestling fans, and it is The Garden. That wasn't the last that we saw of Roman Reigns, but up next we had Big E, The Mysterio, King Nakamura, and Rick defeating the team of Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, Otis, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. Sami Zayn has some extra heat as of course he ended up bringing out Trae Young with him, so MSG wasn't happy about that. We had Becky Lynch basically officially finally telling us that yes, she is a heel, and this is gonna be an over-the-top Becky Lynch. This is gonna be the Seth Rollins Becky Lynch heel that a lot of us are gonna be able to see. Nonetheless, this was a contract signing, so her match against Bianca Belair was made official at Extreme Rules. We then had an incredible match, Seth Rollins defeating Edge, with Seth Rollins basically breaking down at the end. 35+ minute match, and Seth Rollins just destroying Edge at the end. Edge was stretched out of the arena and Seth Rollins was a broken mess. In the main event, we had the Street Profit defeating the Uso, but by disqualification because Roman Reigns got involved as soon as he saw the Usos almost losing the titles. In the aftermatch, after the Bloodline took out the Street Profit, Roman Reigns quickly announced that he will accept Brock Lesnar's challenge to a showdown after he defeats Finn Balor at Extreme Rules. So Roman has accepted both challenges, but that celebration was cut short because the lights goes out and out comes Demon Finn Balor, and he gets a face-to-face with the Universal Champion as SmackDown goes off the air. In the dark main event, what went down after the show went off the air, there were a couple of extra matches. One of those big ones was John Cena teaming with the Mysterios to take on the Bloodline in a 3 vs 3 match to send the crowd home happy. So that is all the latest wrestling news from this past week and what went down on SmackDown. Let me know you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed or found it informative, don't forget to elbow drop it. I'll catch you on the next one, so stay savage.